All right, everybody. We are here starting another podcast episode. I'm excited today. We have someone that has sold a company, is crushing solar right now, building another company, and we're going to get into all that much more today. So we've got Stockley on the show with us. Stockley Barlow, thanks for coming on with us today, my man.
What's up, man? Nice to meet you, and thanks for putting this together and kind of agreeing to do this. And excited to dive in with you and see if I can offer some value and go from there.
Yeah, should be a good time. And this is actually the first time we've seen each other, met each other face to face. So this will be fun. I feel like we're stepping into Starbucks blind date or something. But it'll be a good time.
That's the exciting part. You know, it's like a kind of a networking thing. You know, you meet someone and then hopefully you're able to offer value to them. And in business, that's business right there. Just meeting someone and then you're able to offer value, and maybe you should go back and forth, and you can make something work in that space.
Yeah,
so I'm excited about it.
100%, I agree. But yeah, we were connected through our mutual friend Serge. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but everyone calls him Serge Creator. Yeah. The guy doing content for a lot of people in the solar industry. So I know Stockley's invested in himself. He's crushing social media, and he's having a lot of success in solar. So we're going to hear all about that and his background, what it takes to sell a company, all that stuff. So yeah, let's start from the top, man. How did you get into solar? Yeah, what's like your background, first of all?
So how I got into solar, I started in the construction industry. Like most people, I started in the construction industry doing electrical. My stepdad owned a big electrical company. So we were raised up. I was raised up with four brothers all in the same age. So we were always kind of competing, always trying to like outdo each other. And then we also, so in school, we always wanted to go to the next level and get working and start making some money. But my stepdad wouldn't let us do that until we passed our high school or GED diploma. So after we got that, then he's like, okay, then you can go into electrical school and you can start making money. So we got into electrical school. I went up to 4 years in that up to get my journeyman's. And then after that, kind of got burned out of that thing. And then went to some other construction. And all while I was doing this, I was trying to, I think I had the predilection where I was always kind of trying to work on myself and try to be better. Even though like at the time, I didn't really know like where I wanted to be. But did that for a while and then got into framing. And then that's when I was at framing, it was a horrible job. But while I was doing that, I was always listening to like the good books, listening to like Jim Rohn, for example, a lot. Like I listened to him all the time while I was working. While everybody else would be listening to music and whatever, I'd be listening in my headphones to Jim Rohn, thinking of how to be better. And one of the things that stuck out to me during that time was he said, set a goal to be a millionaire, not because of the money, but because of the person you have to be to get there.
That's fair.
That didn't really make sense to me at the time. It was just more like, okay, that sounds cool. But now as I've like progressed up to that level, it makes more sense as I look back. It's like, okay, it's not really, the money is whatever. The money's just it's like a scorecard. But the person you become to get that, you have to be a totally different person. So the previous Stockley, that was listening to those books is a totally different person than the Stockley that's in front of you now. But anyway, back to that. So was into that, and then I got into solar with a guy. He wanted to do the sales side of it. I knew how to do the fulfillment side. I didn't know how, but I had the desire to want. So he sold a couple jobs. We went and installed them. It took us like, one job. It took us like a week to install, like crazy amount of time because I knew nothing, but I just dove in and figured it out. And then did that for a while. He never really wanted to build the business. It was more of just a work with, let's just kind of skirt around, never build like the systems, processes, never build the processes to take a company to the next level. So that after 5 or 6 years of doing that, then I told him, okay, well, I'm going to go try to do my own thing and get work for myself because I want to build a company. But I never had that mentor, the leader. The only leader I had was him, or the only person to look up to that owned a semi-successful company was him. I never knew the processes. So I just tried. I was always doing the best I could with what I knew. So I did as the best I could in my business, and I took that to where I got up to. We had 2 crews, so we had pretty much a 2-crew operation, and then I got an opportunity to sell that to another bigger company that needed a bunch of installers at the time. So they bought me out, and then they also wanted me to help set up one of their divisions. So they bought me out, and I helped them start a new division here in Arizona. And the best thing about that situation was not really the money I made in the buyout or the money, I even got paid while I was working for them. The best thing I learned was how to put in the operations, how to structure processes and systems, and how to just make it to where you could plug people in from all walks of life into your system. And so even though the money wasn't the greatest, the information I learned during that time was invaluable, and it helped me take my company from, in 2 years that I've been running it now, twice as big as I was able to take the previous company.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Long-winded story on how I got into it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, yeah, and we'll dig into a couple things you said, but that's quite the journey you've been through. But yeah, before I forget, I was going to ask you the name Stockley. I've never heard the name Stockley before. Is that is that named after something? Did your parents?
So I think my dad. I think he always came up with really unique names, but I think the base Stockley comes from John Stockton, a basketball player out of Utah. 'Cause I'm originally from Utah. So I think that's the backstory, and he just had his little flair on it.
Okay.
So I have my brother named. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say you'll like to hear this. My kid's name is Stockton, and we named him after John Stockton because I'm from Utah too.
Awesome, man. I saw that. So, I saw the 435 number, Southern Utah, right?
Yeah. So I guess
awesome.
We got that in common. Both Jazz fans. You still a Utah Jazz fan?
Well, I live in Phoenix now, so kind of got to go for it. And the Phoenix Suns are doing better, so I'm more of a bandwagon fan. Whoever's doing good. I like to watch players. I like to watch players more than anything. I used to be a big particular team fan, and now it's just I like to watch players. I like to watch guys that are great at their thing do good.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's not a bad time to be a Phoenix fan. You guys got Kevin Durant and got some ballers down there. Devin Booker.
Yep. Sure.
I like it. But yeah, well, yeah, let's dig into a couple of things. I don't know if you're gonna say. Sorry, I cut you off before. We're gonna say something about your brother.
Just
your brother have a cool name.
Names. Well, he just came up. One of my brother's name is Solomon. One of them's name is Houston, and Trinity. So my dad had a big variety of random names.
Killing it with the names. Like it. That's awesome. Good stuff, man. So yeah, I want to dig into a few things you said. So sounds like you weren't like a sales background. You were like construction background where you started just a solar installation company essentially, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I had no sales. That's been the hard part and the fun part about what I'm doing now is because I had no sales background other than selling yourself. Everybody's always selling themselves in whatever position they are at in life. But I had no formal sales background. I didn't come from a previous sales company or anything like that. It was all just construction. But I always wanted to. I always I would read the books. I would always study that because I knew at some point I'm going to need that. So that's a big thing in my life. I always try to do the best, or I always tried, and I still do, is do the best with what you have right now.
Right.
And then have big goals for the future and kind of go toward those. So back to the thing, that's been the hardest part about starting a sales company is having no sales background. So I don't know, a lot of people when they start a sales company, they'll have, some of the previous people they worked for or worked with, and then they'll go start their own thing kind of together. Yeah. we've had to start up from, only fulfillment background and then bring the people in. So it's taken us a lot longer and to build the systems that salespeople need to succeed and that kind of thing. It's taken us a lot longer to do that, but I feel like we're finally starting to make some progress. And and see some things happening, which is exciting.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. And that gives, that's a unique background you have, because most people, as you probably know, like solarpreneur, it's very sales focused. Most guys come from, years and years of sales background. So we don't have too many guys on where it's like they came from a construction background, started an installation company. And I don't think I've ever had anyone on where they've like now transitioned into figuring out the sales part of it. So, I think we're gonna have a good conversation around that here about how that journey has been. But before we get into that, like, tell me, so starting up a installer, I think you might have explained this a little bit, but how did you start, which installs did you partner with, like a Salesforce, and they just use you guys for the installs, or how did you even have jobs to like fulfill on in the beginning? So obviously you gotta sell jobs, but tell me about that.
In the beginning, so the guy kind of started it with, he wanted to do looking back at it now, he wanted to do like a full EPC. He wanted to be a full EPC, but he didn't want to put the systems and the processes in place. So he just kind of focused on selling his friends around the neighborhood a solar system, and he would give it to him. He'd say, "Hey, I'm trying to get this going, so I'll give it to you for cost." So he would give these people just over cost. He would sell his neighbors solar systems, and then I would go and install them. So he would order the material, I would order the material, go pick it up, go do the permitting, the plans, and all that. So it kind of started with that, and then as we grew and as we did a little bit more, I started meeting different people, and they would say, "Hey, can you come help me do X, Y, Z?" And I was always trying to stay busy and always trying to look for things to do. So I would always say yes. I'll go do that. I'll go do that in my spare time, and then didn't cut. So how we grew is more business to business in the initial phase. That's still kind of how we grow, is business to business in the install side.
Okay, so it sounds like it was like a buddy of yours that was selling his friends and family or whatever, and then you guys just started connecting with other businesses from that.
Well, yeah, I did because because I love talking to people. I love to get to know people and hearing their stories. So I was always, not always, but I was always trying to like talk with people and I would go to like CED, for example, and I'd talk with everybody there. Hey, do you guys, we do fulfillment work. So if you guys need any help, and it started kind of just like a guy in a truck,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think
through that,
especially. Gotcha. But yeah, especially if you're doing a good job, I'm sure you figured out there's a lot of, I can't speak as much for Arizona, but especially in California where I'm at, there's a huge need for quality installers, because there's so many bad installers out here. And that's the thing, like, California, they have this whole consumer protection guide, all these a lot more regulated now, just because there's been so many bad installations. Not that it's all the installer's fault, but goes back to the sales guys too, overpromised or said things that were false. But there's a huge need for quality install partners and people that can do it right. And so from what I've seen, if there's companies that can do it correctly, efficiently, put it in quick, then I've seen them spread like a wildfire, where people catch on pretty quick, and like more people, there shouldn't be a shortage of sales if you can show that you're going to take care of people's sales and installs and all that. But yeah, is that what you've seen? I don't know if it's similar in Arizona. Do you see a lot of like issues with installers out there? What's your take on that?
So there's a lot of EPCs down here, like a lot of men in a truck, like just cruising a truck down here. There's a lot of that kind of business down here. I don't see a lot of horrible installs, but I mean, back to your point, how we get our name known is, I'd always tell the salespeople or the EPCs that I was working with, it's like, our job as the company, we're not trying to, this was before we were trying to do sales. We're not trying to do sales. We're just focusing on the install. So our job is, you guys give us work, and our job is to make your job easier. And if you're giving us work and we're making it harder, you're probably going to look for somebody else to give work to. And I want to take on as much work as possible. So that was our job. So I'd always sell like that, and then we'd back it up. I would have multiple companies that would tell me like how come, or they would tell their internal crews, like, look, these outside crews are doing a better job than our internal crews. What's going on with that? Why can't you guys, step up to the plate? So when you hear things like that, it's good, for your business and also for your ego. It makes you feel good. And then you get a share, hey, tell your guys, hey, like, we've been doing good. Got a shout out from these other companies. And then like, let's say somebody worked for that company, they go to a new company and they remember that you were a good installer, so they'll call you. And that's kind of how we grew.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And I always ask people that come from more the like construction EPC background, something that I like to ask is just like me, I've never been in that domain really, but it's like me as a guy that's selling these accounts. What have you seen? I know now like you're doing all the above. I think you guys do the sales and the install, like you have a full organization where you're doing your own installs and all that. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you probably have a different take maybe now versus then, but what have you seen, I guess as time has gone on now that you're running your own organization, do you see any disconnect between maybe the sales reps, they overpromise things, or I don't know if you guys would ever show up to jobs where customers like surprised by something you're doing, or because I see it all the time where there's like things maybe we're not explaining right as sales reps and the construction guys come on or the installers come on and like it's a headache for them because the customer thought one thing. So yeah, what have you seen with that? How can we be better as like sales guys of maybe like setting correct expectations? What's the best way to kind of bridge the gap between the sales and the install side?
Yeah. I mean, not as much now. I think all the sales guys are kind of diving in and they're sending their people out to get the correct training. But before, we would show up to people's houses and they would say, "Oh, great! So after you guys put the solar panels, we can call the power company and tell them to come, remove their stuff, turn off the power." And we're like, "No, you can't do that." They're like, "Oh, the rep told us that we're going to be fully 100% solar." And well, you are, but that works in conjunction. So there's a lot of. I feel like that's the biggest problem in solar is the disconnect between the sales guy and the fulfillment side, because in fulfillment there's only so much you can do. You can only offset it so much, and in sales, when they're like a tenet of a good sales guy is he's a good bullshitter, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's a good at at the end of the day, the product is good, the solar product is good. So you as a salesperson got to figure out how to sell it, and if they need sometimes if they need a fridge or something crazy, the sales guy will figure out how to make that happen, Yeah. So sometimes they'll overpromise, and then some of the guys that we're working with now, their previous company, they would like crazy stuff. If the homeowner said, "Oh, I need 10 grand to install," they would tell them that, and it's 100% bullshit, and just, or they would tell them that, and then they would charge them 10 grand more, and then give them like a $10,000 check, but then the homeowner's paying twice as much, so they have the bigger fees and everything on that. So, or they'll say like, "We'll throw the solar system in, and then you get the 30% tax credit." And they'll say, "Well, we'll throw a roof in and all that, and give you a total of 30% tax credit on everything." But you can't do that. That's so things like that.
Fine line.
And not and then not handing it on properly to the EPC. They'll say, "Hey, we're doing hey, Mr. Homeowner, we do everything in house," and then somebody else shows up to do the fulfillment. They're like, "I thought you guys were, XYZ solar company, and you're this company. Who are you guys? And what are you doing here?" So just the disconnect between the fulfillment and the install side. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter who installs it, right? As long as it's getting done correctly, and the customer has a good process. But those are some fun things. So then if you're a good installer, you can explain to the homeowner. We always blame the sales guy. The sales guy's an idiot. He didn't know nothing, but your product's on there now. As an installer, that's what you do. You always blame the other person. The sales guys, we do the same thing. The installers, those fucking guys.
Yeah. No, I'm sure you've seen a lot being on that side of the fence since. Yeah, but no, I'm sure we both have a lot of stories. In one of my previous companies, we were doing a lot of these lease buyouts where like in California, people have an old lease system. And a lot of our guys were going and saying, hey, we'll just buy your new system out and we'll include that in the loan amount. But what was happening, it was bad training, the company I was with. But these reps didn't understand that like the leases, sometimes you couldn't buy them out. Sometimes there were like, most of the power purchase agreements here in California, you have to wait 5 years before you can even have the option to buy them out. And there's like specific times you can do it. So we were getting these systems thrown up on roofs and then writing customers checks for that buy amount, but then they couldn't even buy out their systems. And then of course they were all pissed off because like they were promised one thing. Yeah. Now they got 2 bills.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I think it's important. I'm sure you'd agree. It's important that you got to know, ins and outs. You got to know what you can promise, what you can't promise. If you're bundling in different things with your deal, you got to know, hey, can I actually include a tax credit in this? Because some people are just throwing in roofs, AC. Maybe they're taking their homeowners to, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, part of the deal. Like whatever you're throwing in, you gotta know what you can and can't include. You can't just throw in a new Xbox and think that tax credit's gonna cover random crap you want to throw in. So it's a good point.
The issue with solar, right, is that there's the unlimited potential and a low barrier to entry. So you're attracting a lot of people like with whatever backgrounds to come into it. And if you're a good salesperson, you can sell, anything to anybody. And if you don't have the correct training, you're doing that kind of stuff. And then the homeowner ends up getting screwed. And then they think it's like, solar is scammy. But if you do it right, it could be one of the best. If you do it right, it is one of the best, things on the market right now for, let's say you're a homeowner and you have a fixed income of whatever, $100 a month. If somebody's able to come and save you $75 on your current bill, you have another $25. That's a big deal if you're on that fixed income, But from the other side, if you don't do that and they end up charging, $25 more, it's also a big deal. So the training your sales guys, and then also sometimes the leadership is. It's not really the sales guys, it's the leadership that I think is the problem, because at the end of the day, it's the leader's responsibility to train their people up and make sure that they have the right information to be able to succeed and to be able to offer a good product to the homeowner. But if the leader's not doing that, or the leader's unethical and he doesn't care, because I've also seen that leader's like, who fucking cares? We're going to bounce, we're going to sell all this shit and then bounce. So that's at the end of the day, it is a leadership issue.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree with all that. And yeah, I think it's good and bad. Like you're saying, solar has such a low barrier of entry that anyone can come and do this. Like right now, you don't have to get license. I mean, I guess in California, there's some small things that they start requiring now, but it's not like real estate where you have to go to get a real estate license. I think that's good and bad. Like anyone can come in and should be able to easily make 6 figures your first year in solar if you come in and hustle. But at the same time, that's created a lot of people, maybe bad leadership, maybe bad training, maybe just getting greedy, over-promising. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to change with this podcast, is just make sure people have better training and, bring a little honor, bring a little integrity, values to the solar industry. Because if we continue along this, if we have bad leaders that are spreading lies and not training their guys correctly, I think we're going to see that day where it comes where solar is way more regulated. Maybe we can't sell over a certain amount, a lot tougher to get into. And it just makes all of our jobs harder. So on when people have heard bad things about certain companies, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
they're already bringing some of that to like, they're already bringing some of that to like Las Vegas. They're making the stipulations almost too hard for something a lot of people don't want to go there, and then I think there's a fine line too, right? You don't want too much government. I'm super anti-government, so you don't want too much government intervention, but you don't want your customers to get screwed, so, like with the low barrier to entry, it attracts a lot of shitty people, for lack of a better word,
Yeah, no doubt. For sure. But yeah, I want to shift gears a little bit, Stockley, and talk about the you selling your company. So I know you touched on it a little bit. but can you get into like the specifics? If someone were to start an EPC like you did, start doing installs, yeah, like how would you go about selling it off? I don't know if that's what you wanted to do or if it just kind of like fell into your lap, but like how do you go about selling an organization like that?
So always I wanted to. I always start a company with the idea of, hey, creating enough value that maybe you can sell this, or maybe you can, buy companies yourself and expand. Because it's like you always got to be growing in a company, otherwise, you're either growing or you're not. So I kind of had that in my background, but how it happened, it ended up being at the right place at the right time and knowing the right people.
Okay.
This company was a bigger company, and they were a bigger company looking to expand, and they needed a bunch of people right now. And I had a bunch of trained people that were ready right then, So instead of them hiring me to come, do the fulfillment, they just said, hey, why don't we bring you in-house? We'll buy out all the equipment and the material you have, and then buy you out and go from there. So it wasn't really like I wasn't that smart at the time, but having that experience is what makes you smarter, smarter. So that led me to, it was one of the best things that could have happened, because then I was able to learn from that company, like the systems, the processes on how to take it, the next company to the next level. At the end of the day, I was always the person that kind of had an entrepreneur in mind. Like I'm not just like a 9-to-5 person. I always have to be, I have to be engaged in something that I want to be engaged in. For example, one of the reasons why the company it didn't work out is because they wanted me there, 9-to-5, and I was like, well, I got all my shit done. I got other things to do, But they were like, no, you just stay here and be here. And I was like, okay, well I'm not gonna do that. So, and then I was sorry, but I learned a ton of stuff in that, and I was able to sell my company, something that could be on a resume too, like sold my company. And because everybody says, oh, I would like to, but then if they get an offer, they're like, no, it's too less or too low, or whatever. It takes a lot of like, they're like, okay, here's all my shit, so what I have is my books, this is my, this is what I think it's worth, and then gotta go back and forth. So it wasn't like super complicated. Wasn't, but it was a good experience to go through.
Yeah, that's cool. Is there anything you would have done differently now looking back? It's in 2020, so what, 3 years ago or something happened, right? Okay. Do you think you would have done things differently, or like built it up more, or like, I know you can't like live life in regret, obviously, but like any lessons you would learn or do different?
I don't regret none of it for sure, because it led me to where I'm at right now. And I used to have goals to be where I'm at right now, so I like that. But I probably, they could do a little bit more negotiation, back and forth and say, I think it's worth X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, you're also dealing with if you're dealing with somebody that's smarter than you, which I was, a company that's bigger and smarter, then you kind of say, hey, this is what I think. And then what do you think? You kind of got to defer to them, defer to the smarter person, because if it's not worth their time and you make it too difficult, they're going to be like, okay, we're not going to do it, And sometimes there's like in my situation, there was looking back at it now, there was a very small window for me to do that, because if I wouldn't kind of jumped on it when I did, a lot of things could have changed, and they might have not needed that so much, or they might have just said, okay, we're going to invest all of our time into creating our own thing, so if you get the opportunity, I would jump, just like anything, if you get the opportunity to jump on it, because you never know how long that's going to last. And maybe ask for a little bit more money than you're comfortable with.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, I think it goes to show, like, for our listeners, they can definitely learn, like, if you, well, number one, like you said, right place, right time. But number two, just being connected, power networking. Like, if you weren't networking with other people, expanding your network, opportunity probably wouldn't have come in the first place, right? And I know for me, that's been super powerful. One of the biggest benefits I get from doing this podcast is just networking with other people, and gives you some cool things that can happen. And, especially if things don't work out at one company, you can just go to your network and you have, a lot of opportunities available. So I like that aspect. But yeah,
and you have to
go ahead.
To say you have to be willing to go. Like, I was clear, like when I met this company, I think at the time I lived in Utah or Arizona, but I was willing to go outside of my like I was in California. The company that bought me was a company out of California. You have to be willing to also, like, some people all say, hey, will you go, go do these jobs down, let's say, Texas. No, I just have to be here. Okay. And you never meet, you never have the chance of running into somebody that might change your life.
Yeah.
Not never, but the odds of it are going to be less.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. How did you run into this company? Like, yeah, like, speaking of networking, what did you do to network your way into this? Or like, I don't know if you have any advice for people that want to get better connected.
Yeah, I mean, try to just anybody that's in your industry. A lot of people think like, oh, I don't want to talk to them because we're in the same industry and we're competition, But if you just meet them, like some of the best people I've met, you just meet them, say, hey, I'm solar too. That's cool. And you get talking. That's how I met the guy. Like, he was he grew up in the same town that I grew up in. The guy that kind of like put it together. He grew up in the same town, he grew up in the same town that I grew up in. So we knew of each other. And then he had a company out in California. And then a bigger company a sales company wanted to bring all the sales bring all the sales inside. So they acquired his company, and then he needed more fulfillment people. So he acquired ours. So it's kind of a company acquired a company.
Okay.
But as far as like networking, you just the same thing. You be willing to go outside. Like, if you get an opportunity that maybe it isn't the best opportunity, but it's an opportunity for you to grow and you can expand, take it. Like, sometimes the people I meet in business that I end up doing business with, they're at events that I distinctly remember not wanting to go to. Like, no, I don't want to go to that. And I'm like, go to it. And then I meet somebody and I'm like, oh, glad I went to this event, because I could have just as easily not gone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so anyone listening, I think, a lot of things you can do if you feel like you want to network more. Like Stockley said, a lot of events you can go to. Now they got like SolarCon, they got Door-to-Door Con, really good events. I know there's just like community business things you can go to. But yeah, social media and all that. Like, I know we're both trying to get more into social media. That's big too for connecting with others. So yeah, very important.
Yeah, it's funny that a lot of people I work with on a day-to-day basis right now, I actually met at SolarCon, or at some different like events that I kind of like my fitness trainer. I met him through a guy I met at SolarCon, and the people I'm working with, I met through some guys who I met at SolarCon. Nice. And then you also have that like, oh yeah, I went to SolarCon. Like, a lot of people that are the finance people that I'm dealing with right now, they're like, Ebbs, you go to SolarCon. You have that kind of like affinity toward other people, that they went to that event, or they know somebody that went to that event, or whatever event. Not like be SolarCon, it can be whatever, but especially if you're whatever industry you're in, you definitely want to go to the events that are put on for that industry, 100%.
Yeah.
But even other events, like there's local events that I go to, all this stuff. And even at the gym, I'm always, networking. I'm not, you meet somebody like, oh, hey, what do you do? And you talk, never be afraid. Like, growing up, how I grew up was kind of like, shut up and sit down. It's kind of how my dad kind of taught us. It was my stepdad taught us, like, never speak out, never have your own opinion, never try to be anything other than the status quo. Yeah. So learning, people nowadays think like, oh, he's just naturally good at talking to people. No, like, there's a lot of like overcoming fear that got me to where I'm at right now, to be able to be comfortable talking to people. And a lot of books I've read, a lot of courses I've gone to, and then a lot of also just talking to people and kind of understanding like everybody's going through the same bullshit, for lack of a better term. Everybody's trying to like, the people I'm around now, everybody's trying to like succeed. Everybody's trying to like, be better, be around better people. So never be afraid of saying what up. And that's the best thing about going to events, is everybody that's at these events they're also there to meet other people. So it's like sometimes, let's say you're at the bar and you meet someone and they're like, fuck do you want, But at an event, you meet someone, they're like, yo, they're excited to also meet you. And they're always, it's a lot easier place to kind of talk to people and get to know people and network.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I'd definitely recommend going to those events. And it's a small world in solar. Like, you go to these events, feels like a family reunion because you start seeing the same people over and over. And, it's funny. I went and did some podcasts just yesterday with some buddies I have at another company, and They actually hired a project manager from the first company I was with 7 years ago. So she was sitting at the front desk, and she's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" Like, we had worked together like 7 years ago, and now just ran into each other again. So yeah, stuff like that happens. But yeah, networking is super important. And before we start wrapping up here, Stockley, I want to pick your brain just on, obviously now you're doing everything. You're running a sales organization. So for you, with the background of construction and not having been in sales, I think that's a perspective I haven't really heard, I don't think, on the podcast. So tell me about how that went. What has it been like starting up your own like sales organization and doing everything now? I mean, when did you start what's your company called? Altitude, is that what it's called?
Yep, Altitude Solar. We started it. We started the company in 2021, I believe. So we started the company then, and we were just doing the fulfillment side. And the reason what led us to do the sales side is because in the fulfillment, you're up and down. Some months you'll have, 5 crews a day go out. Like we've had months where we're sending 5 crews a day out, and in some months we have nothing. Some weeks. Yeah. So it's too much up and down. And I was like, how do we add a little bit of stability to this? Because at the end of the day, it's called the solar coaster, for a reason. But how do we add a little stability to this? And that led me to, okay, then we have to start our own sales company. But it's been fun because everything's new to me. Like everything's a challenge. So, and it's also fun for other people too, because when I bring somebody on, if they're kind of they know information and they have ideas and they're the smart in their other company, they weren't the smartest, or they weren't the CEO. So their opinion didn't matter. But then you come with us and we're just kind of a startup. So we're always, I'm always asking, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Because I'm deferring to the people that are in the industry that have been in that side a lot, which is good for them because then they're kind of engaged, like, oh, fuck, like no one's ever asked me what's my thing. And this is what I wish to, this would help me be successful. And a lot of people I'm seeing, they're getting more engaged in the vision. Like I'll sell the vision, like this is what we're trying to be. This is what we're doing. This is where we want to go. And they'll come from jobs that are stable where they're making good money, and they'll come and like take a chance on us, which is to me insane, but they're doing it, taking a chance on us and also on themselves because they've come and saw like, okay, this looks like a better opportunity for us. And then just listen to your people. And if you're hiring smart people, why wouldn't you listen to them?
Yeah.
But then
I like that.
And so far that's led us good. We've had some good success with that. And I like listening to, I'm from the type of person that would rather like partner with people because I can't do everything and I don't have all the answers. But if I get enough people around me that have, they each are good at their own thing and we all work together toward one thing, we're unstoppable, But it's been fun. It's been awesome to like, everything is new and everything's a challenge. So yeah, like we're dealing with problems as they come up because before when we didn't have anybody doing our sales and we're just fulfillment guys, we would hire mentors. We would hire the people and say, what do we need? And then a mentor would come in, like a salesperson mentor would come in and they would say, well, you need this and this and this. And we're install guys are like, fuck, where do we start? So we started with building the process. Okay, this is what we think we need to be successful. And then we'd bring somebody in and say, oh, you need this and this. So we put that in. And then we finally got the sales leader and he's like, oh, dude, this is like how you guys are set up is perfect. This is what I need. And then he brings people in that he knows, and then we get a network more. And we just become like a tight group of tight knit of people working toward the same thing. So what I focus on now is just like trying to sell the vision, sell where we're going, and then keep everybody, excited. And if they have any questions, try to, like, to me, I feel like an idiot. Like I don't feel like I know anything, but I like learning.
Yeah, that's good. That's important. But yeah, I like what you said about partnering with different people because you obviously had your strength in the fulfillment side, but it sounds like you kind of partnered with some people who maybe knew sales more or helped you set up that side of things. Is that right?
Well, not really partnered with them, but we bring them on. But it's a partnership, because if it don't work out for me, then they're not going to stay. And if it don't work out for them, they're not going to stay, So it's a partnership in that route, but not really like partner like in the company, because you have to, like, to me, I've seen a lot of solar companies, they'll bring in like 6 or 7 partners, and only 2 of those people will be people that have actually added substance, you know? So I am partnered with a guy, his name's Carlson. It's awesome. I love partnerships, because then if I have if there's a problem and I can't handle the problem, I say, hey, this is work, because we're both working toward the same thing. Say, hey, go handle that. And he has a different perspective. So then we get a lot more stuff done like that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's why I think partnerships are awesome, but not partnerships where, because I've seen like 5 people ride on the coattails of, 3 good partners, 3 good guys that are actually making things happen, and 5 people that are just bullshit artists.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to be careful with that. Yeah. What's been the hardest thing, would you say, Stockley, about starting up the new company? Sounds like you've had to like learn sales and get that rolling. But is there any other challenges you've had, or what's been the toughest part of starting up this new organization for you guys?
The toughest part to me has been finding the right people, because the right people to plug into the system. Because if you have the best system but you don't have the right people, then nothing's going to work. But if you have the best people and not the right system, you can build a system together. That's what I'm telling them. That's what we're working on right now. It's like, okay, come on, we have great people. So how do we build a system together that's going to work for us long term? Like, do you want to be here long term? I want to be here long term. So you sell the vision, and then you sell but then meeting the right people, because a term of like, whenever you meet someone, everybody's doing great and making the most money and killing it all the time. When you first meet them, so you have to read between the lines. And I like to do a 90-day or 60 to 90-day like trial. You give us a chance, we'll give you a chance. In 90 days, let's reconvene. And a lot of people, especially in the fulfillment side, a lot of people you're getting rid of after 90 days or even before, because they'll say, oh, I'm doing so good. My last company took advantage of me and is so poor, but I'm the best. You're going to love me,
Yeah.
But then you have to, okay, we'll give you a chance, we'll give you a chance for XYZ prize. But if you have the right people, the system, and the right people and the right drive, you can build the systems, you can build anything.
Yeah.
So back to the question, the hardest part has been finding the right people. And that's why it comes back to, that's why I say if anywhere there's a gathering, if you're invited to, go to it. Because, you never know. Like our sales leader I met at a birthday party.
Nice.
The guy who mentors I met at a solar conference. The guy who does my fitness right now, I met through a guy at a solar conference.
Yeah.
And the guy we're working on kind of like another partnership with another company. I met them through our mentor who went to mentor that company. So you never know where you're going to meet people.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and that's something I've seen too. I'm sure you've seen it, Stockley, but some of the best, most successful companies, these guys are master recruiters and can bring on the best guys for their company. Like I think back to like Todd Peterson, Vivint, everyone. I've never met him, but everyone I know that has worked for him or worked with him, they just tell stories about how he like was always recruiting and always looking for the best guys, constantly looking for talent. Because if you can bring in good guys, it's like you're saying, they can complement maybe other things that you're not as good in, and they can, bring in other people too. But at the same time, you got to be improving yourself, because it's like, for me, I know if I'm only out selling 1 account a month, if I'm not improving myself, if I'm just some Joe Schmo, like I'm probably going to have a tough time recruiting a guy that's selling like 20 accounts a month, So it's like, you got to be improving yourself and then getting the top talent to come on. But
do it right. Do it right. Sometimes you'll have that opportunity. Sometimes you're like, holy fuck, this guy who is doing 20 accounts is going to take a chance on me, because he sees the potential. And sometimes what I've seen is a lot of people are in the company that they're in just because they kind of have like golden handcuffs where it sucks, but maybe they're owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they can't leave, or maybe tens of thousands of dollars, so they can't leave. So they have, if you can figure out how to offer offer the right partnership, you can still get that guy, if you do it right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, how many people you have in your organization now, Stockley? How many sales are you guys doing currently?
So on the fulfillment side, we have about 18 people. And then on the sales side, we have, I think, 5 or 6 people right now.
Okay. Start
Yeah.
up. Nice.
Yeah. So it's like
Small
on the
but mighty.
mining side, it was just 100% fulfillment. So everybody was in, we had like 2 guys running, making sure everything happened, 2 guys at the office, and then 2 or 3, and then now we have a little bit bigger, but we had to scale down on the install side to scale up on this side, and then now it's just a rockabye baby.
Gotcha. So you're still an EPC. You still install for other sales orgs and stuff like that too?
Not as much right now, just because of the up and down thing. But yeah, I mean, that's if you do it right, that's still good money. You can still make good money doing that.
Yeah.
Or at least money doing that while the funds or you're trying to go.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, cool, man. Well, it's been fun talking with you, Stockley. Before I forget, if people want to reach out to you or maybe pick your brain about starting an EPC, starting installs, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, any of the social medias, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, or I think it's X now, Instagram, and Facebook, and Stockley Barlow is my handle. And if you have any questions or anything, I love talking with people. And appreciate you doing this. Appreciate you taking your time to interview me, and it's been fun.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, hey, we'll have to next time Utah Jazz plays Suns, maybe I'll come down and we can hit up a game. But you have to cheer for the Jazz if I come. That
Let's go. As long as they're doing like something, they just got rid of Donovan. So I don't know. I'm not jealous, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it when they had him.
yeah, he's good. But yeah, they brought in some guys. They brought in some studs. So this draft was pretty good for him. So we'll see.
That's the thing with Utah, right? They bring in guys, but then before they kind of go on a run, they get rid of them.
Yes,
they trade them out. And that's the hard part about Utah. Nobody really wants to be there because unless you like snowboarding half the year, then
yeah. Well, yeah, I think they hit their cap. I guess that's a different conversation, but I don't think they're going too much further with Mitchell and Gobert. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think they made the right decision.
Well, but before that, they had Gordon too, right? Gordon Hayward. He was doing really good with them before Mitchell.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, don't get me started on him. He stabbed us in the back, man. So he left us. He didn't get traded. He just left us. So
yeah,
better towards him.
Well, he's
no, man.
Yeah, I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So,
I know. Karma, I guess.
Yeah.
But cool, man. Well, not to turn this into a basketball podcast, but last question, Stockley. If you were to leave one piece of advice for maybe a struggling rep or something you've learned that you wish you would have done different starting out, what's the last, I guess, word of wisdom or piece of advice that you'd have for that rep?
I would say do the best that you can with where you're at.
Okay.
Don't think that I'm going to do good when XYZ happens. Do the best that you can right now where you're at, and then have the goals for the future and lean into your edge. Try to be like 1% better every day. Because if you do that in 300 days, you're 300% better. If you're doing 1% in faith, family, and fitness.
Yeah.
1% better every day.
Love it. So you guys, you've been listening to Stockley Barlow. Appreciate you coming on the show. Remember, improve every day. Make those 1% improvements, and you will not recognize yourself. What is it they say? You can do a lot more than you think. Or people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 years. So make sure you keep putting in the small inputs and make the small improvements, and that's how you'll have success in solar. So thanks again for coming on the podcast with us, Stockley, and I hope you keep crushing it, and we'll be chatting with you and looking forward to seeing what you're doing next. Appreciate it.
Much appreciated, man. I'll talk to you later.